travel, they read only a page. With this statement of wisdom given by Saint Augustine, I, Arindita Sahu, welcome you all to this beautiful evening of books, knowledge and reading. It's my privilege to stand here and to welcome everyone present here for the function to release Lucy's Children by Dr. Bhagbanprakash. We are privileged to have with us today one of India's greatest and most dynamic Chief Election Commissioner, Dr. S.Y. Qureshi. Dr. Qureshi will grace the book release event as the chief guest. May I now request Srijukta A.V. Swami, who is an Indian politician from Odisha, and he has been elected to the Rajya Sabha as an independent candidate. The next eminent guest we have with us today is Dr. Satyanarayan Sahu. Dr. Satyanarayan Sahu is an erudite scholar and a writer. He was formerly working as a director in the Prime Minister's office, and presently he is the Additional Secretary, Indian Parliament, Rajya Sabha, Council of States.
Joint Secretary.
He's a highly reputed researcher, he's an expert in public policy and speaks on public affairs. It's our proud privilege to have him here, and he has kindly agreed to share his analysis and insights on Dr. Bhagbanprakash's book titled Lucy's Children. The third guest I would like to request to come up on the stage is Mr. Kapil Kaul. Mr. Kapil Kaul is one of India's topmost social marketing and communications expert.
Lord Buddha used to say one thing. He says, the life and living. He said, life is not for living. It is for learning. So if you have lived a life and without learning, then your life becomes meaningless. Then he reiterated this statement once again, saying that there are two best teachers in this world. One is life and the other one is time. Two best teachers of the world. The first teacher is life, the second teacher is equally important, time. And he said, life teaches how to value time, and time teaches how to value life. So this was a very inspiring statement, individually to me, which actually motivated me to write this book.
After I had continued from where I left, after I had finished editing the manuscript, I realized, to my surprise, that despite my having started out on a mission to slash at least 50,000 words, if not more, I was actually only able to edit about 20 to 30,000 words. And there was no way I was going to remove more. I have edited many books, about 170 in the last 2.5 years itself, but never have I felt, and that too for a non-fiction work, that here is a book that needs to be read by all, especially the young. The young because it provides them with an opportunity to learn so much from one man's life experiences, and if they read it carefully, it could impart invaluable life lessons to them. Lucy's Children by Dr. Prakash is a book that I have learned from. It is a book that I have laughed with, and it is a book that I have cried with.
Frankly speaking, what is my feeling about the book? I just felt that, when I became a father in my 30s or so, I wish this book had been written then, because this is something I could share with my children when they were growing up. And now that I'm looking forward to being a grandfather, I don't know when, but one of my children is married. So I'm really looking forward to being a good grandfather with this book. Because this book has life's wisdom condensed in such a humorous, such a interesting and such a understanding, comprehensible manner that you don't have to read philosophy. I mean, if for a common man, you don't have to get lost in philosophy. You don't have to get lost in religion. You don't have to get lost in art or something. You just read the book, and what comes to you is life. Life starts interacting with you in a way that is so you empathize with that. You so very much empathize with what happens, and your relation to the universe suddenly starts getting defined. That's the interesting part about this book, because you have got anecdotes in this book from a very common man to personalities like Ronald Reagan or Charlie Chaplin or Indira Gandhi or Margaret Thatcher or somebody, and like there was this talk about stupids. You see how they have also acted stupid, how they have also been stupid at certain points in their life. And the second thing about him is that he's a man of wit and wisdom. These are two words you can associate with Dr. Prakash: complete wit and wisdom. And he will deliver his wit with complete deadpan expression. And then finally, this is a question which I asked him, after I finished reading the book. And finally, we have Nachiketa in the end, and asking the third vital question to Yama. What is the purpose of life? This expands. This expands in the book, which starts with life, the mating season, the month of June. And then the last chapter has got Nachiketa asking Yama, what is the purpose of life? Please tell me that. And Yama tells him, no, ask me anything, but I will not tell you anything. So, truly speaking, this is the expanse of the book. And I think at the end of it, it remains that existential enigma which all of us face and hasn't been resolved till date. So these are my impressions of the book. I don't know if we have time. Maybe I'll read something which I like very much, but for the time being, I'll take a break. Thank you very much.
So here we have an eminent scholar writer with us, and he is Dr. Satyanarayan Sahu. I would like to request Sir to come here and to share his thoughts as far as the book review of Lucy's Children is concerned. So let's give a huge round of applause for Dr. Satyanarayan Sahu.
Respected Qureshi, author Sri Bhagbanprakash, whose Kapilton anecdotes, and giving an account of the children of Lucy who have moved forward for ages. The book is extremely fascinating, and it takes us from one insight to another, and in fact tunes us to the infinite dimensions of life. Why I say infinite dimensions of life? That's because each anecdote is full of insights. See, one particular anecdote I would particularly refer to, and from his own life, and Mr. Kapil Kaul, gave a reference to the marketing side. He talks about in that chapter, Caged Parents, how he was bitter in his student days in the school because of the intimidation by the teachers, the violence caused to him, and complete negation of feeling that it developed and generated because of the corporal punishment in the schools. So he went away to a forest and he never attended the school for a few months. And in the school, in the forest, he spent his time, and then he wrote in his book that what a non-threatening atmosphere in a forest where one could think, write, create, and even exercise one's imagination. Now, why I'm saying is that this particular idea concerning the forest life which is depicted in this book, Lucy's Children, I once read a beautiful article in Harvard Business Review. And that article was that of Rabindranath Tagore. The Harvard Business Review said, one man, in that narrative of Rabindranath Tagore, one disciple was sent to the forest to spend some time and to get education. What exactly Dr. Bhagbanprakash writes in this book? A businessman need to listen to the voices and vibrations of the soul of the customer, and that one can learn in the forest. Now when I read this book, and when he talks that as a child, he actually left the school because of the frightening atmosphere caused by the teachers, and he says that such classrooms have produced Hitlers, which is a very profound statement. And this transition of the schools in today's world from the arena of corporal punishment to a more friendly and interactive atmosphere is definitely taking us or tuning us to that great ideal that through interaction we can learn better than through punishment. So this is what I'm saying, it takes us to beyond the mundane aspects of life. Similarly, in the last chapter, he comes down to the definition of power. In today's world, for instance, when I read that particular para, how it takes us to the much more deeper meaning of power. He says there is a power flows from professional ability, power flows from professional ability, power flows from position and authority. And then he says that eventually what endures the power that flows from personal characteristics, because those personal characteristics are independent of the profession and position. When I read this particular para, I was remembering this Harvard professor, the professor who gave the idea of soft power. Now, this is the idea one actually gets tuned to by this particular narrative of Lucy's Children. That how eventually what matters is not the hard power. Now, this God is feminine is a concept which sounds very strange to the Western people. In Indian ethos, feminine attributes of divinity have been celebrated. In fact, some time back, when he said that whether God is male or female, and this idea, this particular thinking is not easy to understand within the Western world. And I remember when Pope John Paul II, he said, God is mother, it was considered to be a paradigm shift within the fold of Christianity. Because God was always considered as the father. And the prophet Jesus was considered the messenger of the God, the father. And therefore this kind of narrative, based on anecdotes, it makes the book so interesting. And in one place he quotes Prophet Muhammad, who says the paradise lies beneath the feet of a mother. Now in the very beginning of the book he says, it's based on confluence of cultures. And these anecdotes are taken from different cultures. And when there is a tendency in India to exclude some people, be it based on language or religion, I think this particular approach, a confluential approach, based on anecdotes, actually signals a great message. That it can never be monolithic approach, it has to be confluential approach. So these are the vital lessons one learns from this book, which is so educative, which is so illuminating, and which is so empowering as well. Thank you so much.
So let's give a huge round of applause for Dr. Qureshi.
My very dear friend Dr. Bhagbanprakash, Mr. Kapil Kaul, Dr. Savan, ladies and gentlemen. When I read this book, I came to two conclusions. One, that this book has no head or tail. Iska na sar hai, na pair hai. My second conclusion, Dr. Bhagbanprakash is a very dangerous man. Now, before the publisher and the author decide to throw me out, let me explain what I mean. One, this book has no head or tail because it is one of its kind. Where it begins, what topic it touches, what kind of writing it is, no one can make out. Mark Tully is absolutely right when he says he found it very perplexing. He has read many books, many of us have read many books, but what to make of this book, that is what is unique about it. You can't anticipate what turn it will take next page, or even next paragraph, actually even next line. Suddenly he jumps from one point to the other, but at the same time it is so seamless that the back doesn't show. And he weaves it so neatly. I was also reminded of that theme song of the famous film Love Story, Where Do I Begin? But that seems to be the case, I was reminded of that because where do I begin this book? In any case, and the answer was wherever you open the page, begin it there and it is engrossing, it is interesting. Is it an autobiography? Is it a work of literature or anthropology, philosophy, mythology, science, technology, health, education, youth, women? None of these, but everything, all of these. Interwoven. In fact, I was just thinking that these days lots of youngsters come to me who are preparing for the civil services. They come to me to fine-tune their ideas on the various issues, particularly democracy. I think they will benefit a lot because it is so full of information, so full of knowledge, and all told anecdotally. Maybe it's whether, his very first line, where it is, what was that? Facts, fiction. He says one man on a horseback was once coming home and he stopped by a pan bidi shop. And he saw a very interesting placard, PhD sold here. So PhD sold here, how much is it? 500 rupees. Oh, that's a very good idea. So he bought a PhD. And the panwala asked him, okay, for whom this PhD? He says, for me. He said, oh, very happy. Then he said, when I go back, after 200 years, he came back, he said, my wife will ask me, you got it for yourself, you selfish guy, why did you buy for me? So he went back to him and said, now give me one more PhD. He says, who is this for? He says, for my wife. He happily gave. The third time he went for his son, we had a son. The fourth time he said, look, my horse must be very tired, I'm taking him back again and again. And he said, can you give me a fourth PhD? This time for whom? He says, for my ghoda. He says, sorry sir, I'm sirf gadho ko PhD deta.
When you will be more happy? By selling millions of books or when the millions of people will read your book? In which case you will be more happier?
When he wins the Man Booker, millions of people will read it.
Because people buy the book and mostly they keep it actually and half read and half not read like this. When you will be more happier? When millions and millions of people will be reading your book or just by selling the books?
Okay, I will definitely not be happy if people buy books
And don't read.
So, because I have written the book for people to read. If people do not, if they do not read, even a million copies are sold, I think that will not going to give me any happiness.
So thank you. So here we end the question answer session from the audience. And since we are almost at the fag end of the event, a few words as the vote of thanks from my side. As I've just mentioned, every good thing has an end. And this beautiful event of release of the book, Lucy's Children, has finally come to an end. At the outset of giving the vote of thanks, I would congratulate the author, Dr. Bhagbanprakash, for writing this wonderful book. And my most regarded thanks are due for the audience and the readers and the question raisers who made the event meaningful as well as interactive. So one and all, thank you very much for coming here, spending time and being a part of the event, making the event a big success. Thank you very much. And at the end of the day, I again congratulate on the behalf of the audience as well as the organizers, Dr. Bhagbanprakash, a huge congratulations for the book, a lot of good wishes, and we definitely wish Lucy's Children is going to win Man's Booker Prize. Okay, thank you everyone.